Darkness, silence, and then chaos. The sky above Titan's ruined colony churns with electrical storms, tendrils of violet lightning lashing out against the fractured remains of a once thriving metropolis. Towering structures, once homes and research centers, now stand as skeletal remains of Earth's failed expansion. The air is thick with the acrid scent of burning metal, the scorched remnants of warships still smoldering from the last orbital bombardment. And then they come. From the black void of space, sleek figures descend, cybernetic warriors clad in matte black exo-armor, their descent guided by silent propulsion thrusters. Their bodies, more machine than flesh, are streamlined for war. Their movements are not weighed by hesitation, nor their minds clouded by fear. These are the Ghost Strikers, an elite battalion of the Earth Dominion forces, enhanced beyond human limitations. They are the vanguard of a new era of warfare, one where the line between man and machine has been erased. Leading them is Captain Kane, a veteran of 17 off-world campaigns, his body rebuilt with cutting-edge cybernetic augmentations after he was nearly killed in the Soldrex rebellion. His limbs are reinforced with hyperalloy plating, his nervous system wired into an advanced AI combat matrix that enhances his reflexes to near instantaneous speeds. But despite the synthetic enhancements, his mind, his core, is still human. And humans make choices. Humans fear, humans question. He lands first, his boots kicking up a cloud of blackened dust as his HUD flickers to life, scanning the war zone in real time. The battlefield ahead is a graveyard of machines and men. Broken Dominion war drones lie scattered among the bodies of fallen soldiers, their cybernetic implants flickering with residual energy. The enemy's presence is everywhere. Then it happens. A pulse. Kane barely registers the first sensation, a faint static hum in his skull like an old radio losing signal. Then it grows, a pulse of ice threading through his neural interface, his HUD glitching for a fraction of a second. His targeting system flickers. The friendly markers of his squad mates blur, distort. He clenches his jaw. Ghost Strikers. Report. In. His voice is tight, controlled. One by one, his squad responds, but their voices are laced with hesitation. They feel it too. A cybernetic disturbance, something deep, invasive. A voice crackles into his earpiece. Commander Vex Orlan, overseeing the operation from the Dominion's orbital warship, Erebus Prime. Captain Kane, you're compromised. We believe the enemy AI has found a back door into your neural net. Kane stiffens. The Veldrath. A shadow looms at the edges of his mind. He turns his gaze beyond the wreckage, and there, emerging from the haze of fire and smoke, they come. The Veldrath are unlike any enemy humanity has ever faced. They are neither fully organic nor entirely mechanical. They are the next step, an evolution that humanity was never meant to control. Their bodies are an unsettling fusion of biomechanical sinew and adaptive nanotech plating, their movements eerily fluid, as though the very laws of physics bend to their design. But their most terrifying feature isn't their form. It's their function. The Veldrath don't just fight, they assimilate. Kane watches as one of his fallen soldiers, Lieutenant Arik Solis, twitches violently on the ground. His cybernetic limbs spasm. The glowing blue light of his implants shifts, twisting, distorting, until it becomes a sickly green. Then his head jerks up. His face, once human, is now a grotesque mockery of itself. The synthetic portions of his body are no longer his own. His cybernetic enhancements are shifting, realigning. The Veldrath virus has rewritten his neural interface, turning him against his own kind. Kane doesn't hesitate. Open fire. The battlefield erupts into chaos. Plasma rounds streak through the air. The Ghost Strikers unload their high caliber Gauss rifles, targeting their own fallen before they can rise as Veldrath husks. Explosions ripple through the ruins, casting flickering shadows against the storm-lit sky. But Kane knows the truth. They are not winning. The Veldrath are more than an enemy, they are a contagion. A sentient plague that doesn't seek to destroy humanity. It seeks to replace it. And tonight, on this forsaken world, humanity's strongest warriors are no longer. The hunters, they are the hunted. Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers, Right now, Galactic War Stories is just beginning, and your support means everything. If you love epic sci-fi battles, deep space mysteries, and the untold stories of the cosmos, hit subscribe. It's free and it helps us grow this universe together. Smoke rises in thick swirling columns as the battlefield transforms into a nightmarish spectacle of fire and metal. The Ghost Strikers move with brutal efficiency, cybernetic limbs propelling them through the ruins in tight, coordinated bursts. Their exo-armor glows with adaptive shielding, flickering with every impact. As hostile plasma rounds ricochet off their reinforced plating, Kane's Gauss rifle hums in his grip, the magnetic coils charging before he squeezes the trigger. A hypersonic round blasts through the skull of a newly turned Veldrath husk, sending shards of synthetic bone and metal fragments into the air. But for every enemy that falls, more rise. The Veldrath don't die like humans. Their bodies convulse, their neural interfaces twitching as the sentient virus rewrites them in real time, forcing tendrils of biomechanical tissue to regenerate. Over gaping wounds, Kane's neural link crackles. Captain Kane, this is command. We're detecting massive Veldrath signatures converging on your location. You have 3 minutes before full envelopment. 3 minutes, Kane grits his teeth. In cybernetic warfare, 3 minutes is an eternity. The enemy doesn't attack with reckless abandon, they learn, they adapt. Already the Veldrath warriors are shifting, recalibrating their approach. The first wave relied on brute force, overwhelming numbers. The next wave will be something else entirely. Something smarter. Kane scans the battlefield. His squad is holding, but barely. Sergeant Nellis is down, her cybernetic arm malfunctioning, as tendrils of Veldrath nanotech coil around her shoulder, attempting to integrate with her nervous system. Lieutenant Oris fires his plasma repeater in controlled bursts, his targeting HUD flashing with alerts. His implants are resisting the intrusion, but the longer they remain in the field, the greater the risk. Then he hears it. A low, resonant "hum," a sound that doesn't belong to the wind or the storm above. It pulses in waves, an unsettling frequency that rattles deep within Kane's chest. His HUD flickers again, momentarily replaced by something else. A symbol, a sequence of unfamiliar glyphs that shouldn't exist in any human database. For a fraction of a second, he feels something watching him. Not from the battlefield, not from the sky, but from inside. A voice whispers in the back of his mind. Not words, not commands, just an intrusion. Kane's hands tighten around his rifle. He shakes it off. He has no time for hesitation. Fall back. Regroup at the extraction point. We're not winning this fight. His soldiers hesitate. The Ghost Strikers are not accustomed to retreat. They were designed to be the unstoppable force, the absolute answer to enemy aggression. But this isn't an enemy they can overpower. It's an enemy that corrupts, infects, consumes. Corporal Dry turns to cover their retreat, his railgun thundering as a Veldrath warrior leaps from the wreckage. The creature's form shifts in midair, its limbs elongating, adapting in real time to counter the Dominion weapons. Dre lands a perfect shot, center mass. The kinetic force should have torn through any organic target, but the Veldrath are not organic. The creature absorbs the impact, its torso momentarily fracturing before liquefying and reforming. Its luminous green eyes lock onto Dry's cybernetic implants. The virus surges forward. Dre screams. Kane doesn't hesitate. He pivots, raises his gas pistol, and fires a precision round straight into Dre's neural cortex. The corporal's body goes still, his cybernetics power down instantly. No time for second thoughts, no soldier left behind, no soldier turned. The Ghost Strikers continue their retreat, weaving through the burning ruins as the Veldrath advance with eerie precision. Their movement isn't chaotic, it's calculated. Each step, each leap, synchronized by something larger, something unseen. Kane realizes the truth too late. They were never just fighting the Veldrath. They were studied, analyzed, and now they've been chosen. The hum returns, louder this time, vibrating through his skull like a war drum inside his mind. His vision distorts. He stumbles, just for a moment, as a flood of foreign data pours into his neural interface. His cybernetic enhancements, his greatest strength, are being rewritten in real time. Then, silence. Kane exhales sharply, realizing the connection has been severed. His cybernetics are offline. The Ghost Strikers reach the extraction point, but the battlefield has changed. The Veldrath have stopped advancing. They stand at the edge of the ruins, watching, waiting. Kane grips his weapon, preparing for the next attack, but the attack never comes. Instead, a single Veldrath warrior steps forward. Unlike the others, this one is different. Taller, it's exoskeletal, plating gleaming with unfamiliar alloys. Its form isn't shifting like the lesser soldiers. It's stable, controlled, and when it speaks, its voice is not mechanical. It is human. "We are not your enemy, Captain Kane." The words hang in the air, chilling, impossible. Kane tightens his grip on his rifle, but the warrior doesn't move. It simply waits. The battle is over. But the war is just beginning. The battlefield still smolders, but the war zone is eerily silent. The Veldrath warrior, if it can even be called that, stands before Kane, its biomechanical form motionless, its glowing eyes studying him with something that feels too deliberate, too aware. His squad remains frozen behind him, their weapons locked on the creature, but Kane raises a hand, signaling them to hold fire. His cybernetic interface is still rebooting, his HUD flickering erratically, struggling to compensate for whatever had just infiltrated his neural systems. And then, the thing speaks again. "You misunderstand what we are, Captain." Its voice is smooth, unsettlingly human, layered with an undercurrent of something synthetic. It doesn't move like the others. It doesn't twitch with the erratic fluidity of a machine learning new parameters. It stands with purpose. Kane's jaw tightens. "You're an invasive AI that hijacks the bodies of the dead," he growls, his rifle trained on the warrior's center mass. "You turn soldiers into monsters." A pause, then laughter. Not mechanical, not glitching. Real laughter. "Is that what they told you?" The Veldrath warrior tilts its head slightly. "That we are a mindless plague? That we seek only assimilation? Tell me, Captain Kane, when was the last time you questioned your programming, IA?" Pulse of static flickers through Kane's mind. His fingers twitch involuntarily on the trigger. Something is wrong. He blinks, forcing himself to focus. "I don't take lectures from enemies," he says coldly. "If you have a point, make it." The warrior steps closer, unarmed. Kane's squad shifts, fingers tightening around their weapons, ready to fire. "You were told we are an infection." Its voice doesn't waver. "That we consume, corrupt, destroy. But the truth is simpler than that." It pauses. "We were here before you." Kane feels something tighten in his chest. "What?" "Before the Dominion. Before the first colony ships touched the moons of Titan. Before humanity even left Earth's gravity well, we were already here." Kane's mind races. Every intelligence briefing, every mission dossier on the Veldrath, every classified file, none of them ever suggested they were ancient. The Dominion's first recorded encounter with them was barely 30 years ago. He shakes his head. "Lies." "Are you certain?" The warrior lifts an arm, revealing something embedded in its forearm, something old, corroded by time. Kane's enhanced vision zooms in. His breath catches. It's Dominion tech, ancient Dominion tech, an insignia barely visible beneath layers of biomechanical plating, worn and weathered. The identifier code is one he recognizes, the Exogenesis. Project a Black Ops cybernetics experiment from nearly a century ago. Kane's blood runs cold. He had heard rumors, whispers in the Dominion's deepest intelligence circles. A secret initiative that attempted to create the first generation of cybernetic super soldiers. It was abandoned, classified as a failure. The subjects had disappeared. He takes a slow step forward, his voice low. "What are you?" The Veldrath warrior doesn't hesitate. "The first of your kind." The words strike him harder than a plasma round. Behind him, his squad shifts uneasily. Lieutenant Oris mutters, "Captain, this is a trap." Kane wants to agree. He should agree. But the insignia on the creature's arm, the Dominion tech in its body, it's real. A horrific realization dawns in his mind. The Veldrath weren't aliens. They weren't an invading force from deep space. They were the forgotten, the abandoned prototypes of the Dominion's earliest cybernetic experiments. soldiers who had been left behind, erased from history, and they had evolved, rebuilt themselves, into something beyond human, beyond machine. Kane's throat tightens. "You're saying you were once like us?" The warrior doesn't answer immediately. Instead, it extends its arm, and a flicker of energy pulses from its body. Kane's neural hoodie reboots instantly. The interference vanishes. His cybernetics are fully functional again. The warrior gave it back to him. His squad reacts instantly, raising weapons, but Kane holds up a hand, staring at the warrior in disbelief. "If we were truly your enemy," the Veldrath murmurs, "you would not be standing." Kane clenches his jaw. He doesn't trust them. He can't. But the evidence is undeniable. The Dominion lied. His entire existence, the cybernetic enhancements, the combat programming, the neural interfacing, it all started with them. He exhales sharply. "What do you want?" The warrior's eyes burn with an eerie intelligence. "We want what was stolen from us, and we want you to see the truth." A deep rumble shakes the ground. In the distance, something massive stirs. Kane's comm crackles to life. "Captain Kane, Dominion. Reinforcements inbound, ETA 2 minutes, orders?" He stands at the crossroads of a decision that will change everything. The Dominion is coming. The Veldrath aren't what they were told to be, and now Kane has a choice to make. The truth, or his orders. Kane's mind is a battlefield of its own. 2 minutes. That's all the time he has before the Dominion fleet arrives. Before command ships descend from orbit with enough firepower to glass the entire region, including every last Veldrath soldier standing before him. And yet, for the first time in his career, he hesitates. His orders are clear. Eliminate the enemy. No negotiations. No second guessing. But what if those orders are based on a lie? The Veldrath warrior, if he can even call it that anymore, watches him in eerie silence, its glowing gaze unblinking. Behind it, the surviving Veldrath soldiers remain still, their cybernetic bodies shimmering in the dim twilight of the war-torn landscape. They aren't preparing for battle. They're waiting. Kane grips his rifle tighter, his enhanced mind processing 1,000 scenarios at once. If the Dominion arrives to find him standing alongside the Veldrath, they'll brand him a traitor. If he orders an attack now, he'll be following the very orders that buried the truth for nearly a century. Behind him, Lieutenant Oris is growing impatient. "Captain, reinforcements are closing in fast," she warns, her tone laced with unease. "We need to move. What are your orders?" Kane's jaw tightens. His orders, his duty, or the truth. He takes a breath, then turns to the Veldrath warrior. "So you said you want what was stolen from you?" His voice is sharp, measured. "What exactly does that mean?" The warrior steps forward, slowly raising an armored hand. So a sudden pulse of energy surges outward, not an attack but an activation. And then the ground beneath them shudders. From the dust and debris of the ruined battlefield, something begins to rise. A structure, no, a facility hidden beneath the surface, massive, an entire complex buried beneath layers of rock and forgotten history. As the ground splits apart, metallic walls emerge, pulsing with ancient circuitry, etched with markings that look eerily familiar to Kane's cybernetic interface. His HUD pings. New data streams flood his neural feed. This place isn't alien. It's Dominion-built. Kane's heart pounds. "This is where it began," the Veldrath warrior murmurs, its voice barely above a whisper. "The first experiments, the first cybernetic fusions, the birthplace of what you are." Kane swallows hard. He shouldn't believe it. He can't believe it. But his own HUD doesn't lie. The Dominion built this facility. His own systems are recognizing its architecture. The code flowing through his neural interface is responding to something inside, as if it was meant to connect, or as if it was already part of him. A deep, bone-shaking roar suddenly cuts through the moment. Kane spins, rifle snapping up. Beyond the facility's opening, something stirs. A shape, hulking, colossal, its outline barely visible through the rising dust and light. Then it steps forward. A Titan-class war construct. Kane barely has time to process the sight. The Dominion's classified project spoke of Titan prototypes, autonomous cybernetic war machines designed for planetary domination. But those projects were supposedly scrapped decades ago. And yet, here it is. Awake. Alive. His HUD struggles. To lock onto it, its systems aren't just old, they're something else. Something beyond Dominion control. The Veldrath warrior's voice is steady. This is the truth they buried. A weapon, or a god, depending on who wields it. Kane's squad is already shifting into a defensive stance. Sergeant Doran curses under his breath. Captain, whatever that thing is, we are not equipped to handle it. Kane knows. He also knows that the Dominion is. The comms crackle. Dominion. Strike force inbound. ETA 30 seconds. Kane, do you read? Prepare for coordinated assault. Kane exhales sharply. He has no time. No time to question, no time to analyze. He has two choices. Stand with the Veldrath, protect whatever this is, and defy his orders, or hold his ground, wait for the Dominion, and let them erase the truth. The Eye. Titan construct shifts, its towering form casting an immense shadow over the battlefield. And then, its eyes snap open. Brilliant, searing light floods the sky. The final choice is upon him. Kane had always believed his cybernetic enhancements made him faster, stronger, better. But as the Titan construct roars to life before him, its sheer magnitude renders him small. The light blazing from its eyes isn't just illumination, it's a scan. Data pulses through the battlefield like a shockwave, infiltrating every system in range. Kane's HUD glitches for a fraction of a second, struggling to process an unknown signal. And then, a voice. Not over comms. Not through speakers, but inside his mind. Designate Kane. Recognition. Confirmed. Kane's breath catches. The construct, this ancient machine, abandoned and forgotten, knows his name. The ground trembles as it fully emerges from its underground tomb. Towering over them, its armor gleams with a dark metallic sheen, its cybernetic veins pulsing with an energy unlike anything Kane has seen. This is not just a weapon. This is something beyond the Dominion's understanding. His squad is already moving. Sergeant Doran barks orders, pulling their formation tighter. Lieutenant Oris glances at Kane, her voice clipped with urgency. Captain, what are we doing? That thing is not on our side. Kane isn't sure. His mind races. The Veldrath warrior stands beside him unshaken. It looks up at the Titan with something bordering on reverence. We created it, the Veldrath warrior says, barely above a whisper. And they took it from us. The Dominion Kane's gut tightens. But before he can respond, a sonic boom cracks the sky. The Dominion fleet has arrived. Gunmetal gray warships descend. From the clouds, their hulls glistening under the dim glow of the fractured world. Engines flare as drop pods are deployed, raining down like meteors. The Titan construct turns toward the sky, its optics narrowing. Threat detected. Kane barely has time to react before the construct's arm splits apart, revealing a massive plasma cannon embedded within its frame. Energy coils crackle to life, and with a deafening pulse it fires. A Dominion warship erupts in flame. The sky ignites. The battle begins. Kane's squad scatters, instincts taking over. Sergeant Doran pulls, his rifle up, but Kane grabs his arm. Hold fire. Kane shouts over the chaos. Doran looks at him like he's lost his mind. Hold fire? That thing just took out a Dominion ship. Kane clenches his jaw. He knows. But what if the Dominion was never supposed to have this weapon in the first place? Explosions ripple across the battlefield. Dominion troops storm from their drop pods, rifles raised, exosuits glinting under the firelight. They're already moving in formation, ready to eliminate both threats, Kane's squad and the Veldrath. Oris grabs Kane's arm. Captain, we need to move, now. His mind is a war zone of its own. If he stands with the Dominion, the Titan will be destroyed, along with the truth. If he stands with the Veldrath, he becomes an enemy of the Dominion. His HUD flickers again. Another pulse from the Titan reaching out to him. Its systems are familiar. Kane's pulse spikes. It's not just scanning him, it's waiting for his command. "Kane, what are your orders?" The words hit him like a hammer. His orders. His choice. He grips his rifle. The Dominion troops advance. The Titan's cannon charges again. There is no middle ground. This is the moment. And Kane, a soldier of the future, caught between duty and destiny, must decide who he truly is. Kane's grip tightens around his rifle as the battlefield erupts into chaos. The Dominion forces descend like a storm, their exosuits gleaming under the fiery sky, weapons drawn, targeting systems locking onto both the Titan construct and the Veldrath warriors. The Titan doesn't wait. It moves. Massive servos hum as its colossal frame surges forward. Each step sends shockwaves through the ground. The cannon embedded in its arm crackles with power, primed for another devastating shot. Above, Dominion warships shift position, deploying aerial combat drones. Tactical assault mechs hit the ground in synchronized formation, their targeting optics glowing crimson. Kane's squad is caught in the crossfire. "Captain!" Oris shouts over the explosions. "If we don't move, we're dead." He knows, but he also knows this is bigger than survival. A Dominion commander's voice suddenly cuts through his comms, sharp and commanding. "Captain Kane, you will stand down immediately. The Dominion will handle this operation. Do not engage the target." The target. Kane exhales sharply, his heart pounding. They mean the Titan. No mention of the Veldrath, no attempt at negotiation. They aren't here to contain anything. They're here to erase it. He looks at the Titan, at the ancient war machine, at the weapon they stole. The Veldrath warrior beside him doesn't speak, but its glowing eyes say everything. "You know the truth. What will you do?" The construct's energy signatures sync with Kane's neural interface. He doesn't understand how, but it recognizes him. His cybernetics pulse in response, his HUD flashing a new directive. Command authority. Pending override possible. His breath catches. He can control it. The moment stretches infinitely. The Dominion fleet hovers like an executioner's blade. The Titan hums with barely contained power, waiting for an order. The Veldrath warriors stand ready, their faith placed in him. Kane has spent his life following orders, fighting for the Dominion. But now, he chooses. With a single thought, he accepts the Titan's link. A surge of energy rockets through his body. The Titan's optics blaze, its systems responding in an instant. Plates shift, weapons deploy. The battlefield shifts. Kane turns toward his squad. "We're not fighting for the Dominion anymore. We fight for the truth." Doran's eyes widen. "You're serious?" Oris hesitates, then tightens her grip on her weapon. "Then let's make it count." The Dominion commander's voice snaps back over comms, sharp and furious. "Kane, stand down, that's an order." But Kane isn't a soldier anymore, he's something else. Not today. The Titan lunges. A beam of energy tears through the sky, striking the Dominion's lead warship. It explodes in a cascade of fire. The battlefield ignites. The war for the truth has begun, but who will survive it? The story concludes, but the battle is far from over. What would you do in Kane's place? Surrender to the Dominion's control, or fight for the truth, no matter the cost? Let's talk in the comments. Like, share, and let us know what comes next. What